This clinic discusses the rules for when the penalty for the violation is restricted to the dugout, or the more severe, ejection from the game. All references are to the 2013 rule and casebook. We will discuss definitions, which rules have the penalty of restricted or ejections, go through some of the examples of applying the penalties, and finally we'll talk about the paperwork to be submitted to the AIA and the Umpire Association when you have a restricted or an ejection during the game. Think back to last year's game. How many restricted did you see or impose? How many ejections? Not many. In fact, in any given year, there's only a handful of ejections out of some 500 games played. The best prevention to the ejection is preventive umpiring. Think, what can I do besides call a good game to keep everyone in the game? Know the rules. Know how to apply the rule to the situation. Know the penalty. Be confident, not arrogant. Keep your eyes open and attentive. Have an attitude of, I am here to observe the game, not be the game. Try understanding when the coach is coming from. Don't look like you have a favorite. And finally, don't take it personal. Don't be threatening. It does not work. The next step the offender takes is to call your bluff. So what did you gain? If the penalty is ejection, then eject. Because when I do their next game and I have the same problem with the coach or the player, I don't want to hear, well, the last umpire didn't say I did anything wrong. Definitions of terms. Turn to page 25. Restricted. Restricted to the dugout, bench area, is a term used to indicate that a participant has been confined to the dugout bench area for the remainder of the game, generally as a result of an infraction of a playing rule, not a major unsporting act. Turn back to page 20. Ejection. An ejection is the exercise of an umpire's authority to remove the team personnel from further participation in the game. If you forget the rule, just think, is this a major unsporting act? If yes, then the penalty is ejection. Rules and penalties. Turn to page 29. Start with players and positions. You would think with all the time the coach has before the game, using a pre-printed form with numbers, names, and position columns, and a place for subs that the coach would have no problems. Not so. Players' numbers are switched or missing. The flex is in the wrong slot. They forget to write the subs. Do some preventive umpiring. Get it corrected before you make the lineup card official at the pre-game meeting. Don't wait to try and figure it out after the game started. Turn to page 34 for illegal substitutes. Know the difference between illegal substitute and unreported substitution. Article 1. Illegal offensive or defensive players may be discovered by the umpire or either team any time after the ball becomes live and an illegal substitute has taken a position. The penalty, restricted, and the offensive player is out. Article 2. Illegal offensive players may be discovered when the penalty, if before the next pitch, the offensive player is out and restricted. If after the next pitch, then the play stands and the offensive player is restricted. Article 3. Illegal defensive players discovered before the pitch to either team when involved. The penalty, defensive player is restricted. Offense has options. After the next pitch, play stands, but defensive player is still restricted. Remember, preventive umpiring. Make sure you know who is who and when they can come and play. This rule has 20 articles. For the most part, you will never see any of them. When one does occur, it's usually because of carelessness, some stupidness, and every once in a while it is intentional. Article 1 through 5 is team warning, and the next violation is restricted to the bench. Article 4, hitting a ball to the defense, You wonder why there's a rule like this one in the book. But you know, someone at one time decided, hey, it's a good time to have practice in the middle of a game. Rule 3, Articles 6 through 10, the penalty, same warning, and the next violation is restricted to the bench. Any questions? I didn't hear any. Article 11 through 16 can be major unsporting acts. Therefore, the penalty is the umpire shall eject the offender. But of course, if it's minor and that's all in the umpire's judgment, the umpire may warn the offender, and the next time the offense is the player is ejected. Article 13. This is the unsporting act. For coaches who commit an unsporting act, the rule says you have the option to restrict them to the dugout. I don't know why you would not get rid of them. Remember, they won't be happy when I have their next game and they are sent walking. Article 17. This is one you will see. Penalty. Strike on the batter if the offender is offense, and a ball on the batter if the offender is defense. I don't know why the defense would be removing lines. Remember, the act has to be intentional. So be sure what you're seeing. And remember, sliding into home plate, taking out the batter's box and half of the third base foul line is not intentional. Articles 18 through 20 are serious unsporting acts. The penalty is ejection. Make sure you have the names and numbers of those involved. You are going to need them later. Article 20. The penalty for failure to comply shall result in the game being forfeited. You better have your ducks in a row if you get to this point. Batting. Preventive umpiring. Did you do a thorough bat and helmet inspection, or did someone sneak in a bat afterwards? When looking at the game that's in play, just take a quick look after the bat if you've got a question while play is suspended. Article 14. This violation is sportsmanship at its worst. Eject without the drama. There will be enough to follow from the coaches and the fans. Plate umpire. When you're trailing the batter runner to first, watch the runner's left arm when she passes the first baseman. These girls are sneaky. If they see something when everyone else is watching the ball, talk to the first base coach. Just let them know you want to see each team's highest level of sportsmanship. Base umpire. Watch players when they get tangled up at second base in a slide and the fielder falls on the runner. Do your best just to keep them untangled and let them get up. Let's look at some of the situations, the rule and which penalties to apply. Warn, restrict, or eject. Some of these case numbers may be a little bit off for the 213 book, but you should be able to find them. Here's a situation. At the pregame meeting, both head coaches have submitted and verified their lineup cards. In the second inning, Team A, number 4, who is playing right field, hits for a single. Before the next pitch, Team B coach appeals number 4 has batted out of order. What do you do? Get out your lineup card. Review the previous batter. Was number 4 the next batter? Is her name right, but the jersey number is wrong? Is number 4 a sub that was not reported? If the lineup card is a correction, then warn and restrict the head coach on the next violation. Illegal substitute offense. Illegal substitute S1 is batting for B2 and receives a walk. The defensive team informs the umpire that S1 is an illegal substitute. A, before the pitch to the next batter, and then B, after the pitch has been thrown to the next batter. First of all, know the difference between an illegal and an unreported sub. In both A and B, the runner is out and restricted to the dugout. In B, any subsequent plays after she is on base stand. Illegal substitute, defense. Illegal substitute, S1 is in right field for F9. B2 hit a fly ball to F9, who catches it for an out. The offensive team informs the umpire that S1 is an illegal substitute. Again, the selections are A, before the next pitch, and B, what do you do after the pitch has been thrown? In A and B, the defensive player is restricted to the dugout. In A, the offense has the option to nullifying the play, and that means going back to the pitch count before that pitch. Or in B, all play stands if a pitch has been thrown. Illegal equipment. Also see Rule 7.4.2. Batter enters the batter's box with A, a warmed, a rolled, or shaved bat, or B, a cracked, dented, or improperly taped, or C, a cracked helmet. You better have checked the bats and helmets before the game. Again, know the difference between an illegal bat and an altered bat. In A, the head coach and the player are ejected. Player goes to the dugout. The coach goes to the parking lot. In both B and C, warn and restrict on the next violation. Batter carelessly throws the bat. The batter takes a big swing and releases the bat that rolls into the catcher's legs. What should the umpire do? Warn and restrict on the next violation. Make sure that you know that it doesn't look like it is an unsporting act that's worth ejection. Ball hits to the defense after the game started. Again, this is one of those silly ones. What was the coach thinking? The coach in Team A hits the balls to the infield or the outfield while F1 is warming up at the start of an inning. What should the umpire do? Try not calling the coach stupid. Warn and tell him to stop. 3.6.6 Team members outside the dugouts. One of the Team A's players and team personnel is A, in the bleachers behind home plate, and B, in the bleachers along third base line. In A, if she's not crying to her daddy that the coach is not playing her, go to the coach and tell him all his players need to be in the dugout. In B, it's still not okay. Make the coach the bad guy. He's responsible for his team. He has to get them in the dugout. Team members outside the dugout. During the game, team members are A, sitting in the dugout with their feet in live ball territory, B, standing outside the dugout in marked areas, or C, engaged in running and throwing during the 1 minute between each half inning. In A, move them back. It's a rule. Take the angle that this is for safety. Not every dugout has gates for everybody to be staying in a cage. In B, okay, during 1 minute between innings, everyone can be out in the dugout. All other times, everyone should be in the dugout except the on-deck batter, the batter, and 9 defensive players and 2 coaches. And C, well, this is a well-coached team. Hopefully they can hit the ball too. Unreported substitutes. In the second inning, it is brought to the attention of the umpire that the flex is batting for the DP with a 3-2 count. A, now what? If this is the first sub for the defensive player, then designated player, then enter and get on with the game. In B, again, the 6th inning, the designated player is batted in the 4th. This one's a trick. This is a second substitution. She's an illegal sub and is ejected. Use of tobacco. B1 steps into the batter's box. The umpire notices this brown slime drooling out of her mouth. Really? Doesn't everyone know tobacco in any form is not allowed on school grounds by Arizona state law? Then they even have signs on the fences, and they call us blind. Eject the player and call the cops. No, just kidding. Don't call the cops. Unsporting acts. Before the game starts, Team A gathers around the bases closest to their dugout and chants a team cheer. Is this okay? Hey, they are girls. They do that kind of thing. The boys' baseball team wish they could do cheers like them. Anyway, cheers are okay as long as they do not address the other team or not negative or derogatory. Malicious contact, offense. F5, remember this is a fielder, who has the ball, is in a position at third to make a tag on the advancing R1 when A. R1 maliciously crashes into F5 and dislodges the ball, or B. runs into F5 without attempting to avoid the tag and dislodges the ball, C. attempts to slide and dislodges the ball, or D. remains in the baseline and dislodges the ball. Here's 4 situations. What do you do in each? A. You've got an out and an ejection from the game. Get her number. You'll need it later for the ejection report. B. Again, it's malicious. She's out. She must try to avoid the tag. But remember, this isn't malicious, so there's no ejection. C. She's safe at third. Third baseman needs a better coach to teach her how to hold on to the ball in the glove. D. Safe at third as long as the runner did not attempt to dislodge the ball. And no, the runner does not have to slide. Malicious contact defense. R1 is on first base when B3 hits a sharp ground ball to F4. R1 attempts to advance to second base. F4 maliciously contacts and uses excessive force to tag R1. The ball, A, is in F4's possession, or B, is not in F4's possession. Yes, this happens. Have you never watched Mean Girls? In A, the runner's out, and then you eject F4 for malicious contact. Get her number. You'll need it again for the ejection report. In B, the runner's safe, but you still eject F4 for malicious contact. Get her number. Ejections. After an ejected coach goes to the bus, may the coach use communication device to talk with team personnel on the field? Yes or no? The coaches on the field better not have any communication devices on the field to start with. Otherwise, what happens in the dugout stays in the dugout. An ejected coach leaves the field, but A, returns to the outfield fence, or B, returns to the outfield fence, but he is wearing Groucho Marx mustache and glasses. A, ask the assistant coach where the school administrator is. If the ejected coach is the assistant coach, then ask the head coach if he's ready to join him, because it is his responsibility to get the assistant out of sight and out of mind. B, yeah, nice try, coach. Ditto and A. That night, you have to fill out a report. This is not voluntary. Believe it. The coach or player is sending a scathing email to Gary, the school admin, and the Arizona Republic, and probably your mother regarding the incompetent umpire who restricted or ejected them. Go online, and this website may be updated here later, but www.aiasub.org. Go through the menu bar for forms, scroll down to ejection or restrictions, and follow the instructions. Make sure you put yourself on the copy of that email. Here's a quick look of all the fields you need to fill out. After Gary and Andy or whoever on the board is reviewing these, you'll get a call, and your partner will get a call to get a second opinion of what went on. Make sure everybody's in sync. Any questions? Well, guess what? I'm not answering them right now. But what you can do is put them in writing, describe the situation, what rule you're talking about, and what you think the penalty should be. Email it to your area rep and let them go and answer it. And if they have a challenging answer, then it'll come to the board for some further review. Otherwise, this concludes our presentation.